people science movement gained as a distinct trend within the Indian social scenario. Next. It is in this context we need to critically look at what's happening after the globalized world of 1990s. What are the trends that we are seeing today? Next. There are, in my mind, three important reasons or three important contexts that we need to look at whenever we look at science communication in our country. We are living in a technology-mediated society. More and more technologically mediated society as the time goes on. If you look at 1947 and today, we would see a sea of difference from what it was and what we are today. Science and technology is today all pervading in our society. It has impact on governance, policies. S&T is mediating in many of these areas. And interestingly enough, in the past few decades, world over, the global science is able to answer many of the age-old questions. How old is our universe? Where are we from? There are many very interesting answers to such age-old questions which have been provided by modern science in the recent past. Next. When this is the background and the context, what are the needs of the public? Next. There is a, sorry, go back. Yeah, next one. There is certainly an economic need. People look for technologies, knowledge, techniques which can better their economic standing. However, in my view, that's not the only need. Next. There is also a social need. People also find that increasingly in a world where science and technology has a mediation in the policies, in governance, if they have to participate as would be natural in any democratic society, the aspiration of people, then they need to also understand science and technology. They need to understand what does a large norm do. So should I accept large norms or not? Is nuclear power necessary or not? Right? So such questions people do need to, or people do desire to have a say. More so in the contemporary times with democracy having larger influence in comparison to, let's say, 1950s. So there is a social need. We need to also understand that it is not merely the economic needs, which of course most of us would agree, most of us would see as the main role, but I think there is also this issue of social need. Next. There is also a cultural need. As any human being, all people, irrespective of their economic status, social status, cultural status, do look for answers to who am I? What is the purpose of life? Is there a purpose of life? And such questions. To reduce all this, to assume that people in India, particularly because it's a third world country, or large sections of people in India because they are poor, look only for economic need would be a great injustice. Would be a great error, a grave error in my view. A small anecdote I would like to state here. Until my college largely I was within the cocoon of my social class, so I was not knowing much about the rest of the society. Once, with some of my college friends, when I was able to go to a village, I was a city-born person, so to go to a village, this was the time when there was a Koothu, which is a folk form of art in India, was being performed in a village. This was around the time of what in North India we call as Holi. That's not celebrated like Holi in South India, but the same day, the let's say the backward classes in certain parts of South India conduct a function for the god of love called Kamdeva. So for that, there is a Koothu. So in that Koothu, when I was listening to that, there are two people who are sort of arguing. When I was listening to what that argument is about, it was very interesting and enlightening to me. One person was arguing that whatever we see around is merely a dream. Nothing is real. The classical Mayavada of Indian philosophy. Whereas the other person in the Koothu was arguing that what we see is actually real. They are not merely figment of our imagination. Material things exist. So that's a debate that is going on in the Koothu. This is a very poor village, one of the backward regions of Tamil Nadu, then and today. But in a Koothu you are discussing something completely out of the world question. And it's a traditional form. The persons who are performing are not, let's say, certified philosophers or whatever. I mean, they are ordinary folk artists. And the performance there is something that has been performed for last 100, 200, 300, 400 years. Of course, it gets modified every year with some new additions. So one can't say that it's the same material that has been used forever. But this is a theme that was being discussed over there. So to assume that ordinary people do not require discussions on serious, in-depth issue would be a grave error in my view. Next. Therefore, to look at science and technology purely in a utilitarian way would be a wrong position on our part. Next. Therefore, I think there are three dimensions to science communication in India: popularization of science, public understanding of science, critical science. I am just sort of giving it a name. I'll just explain what it means next.
Another 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just almost at the end. Popular science, popularization of science, I would say, is largely to fill the gaps in school education. Of course, in a country like India, I mean, almost 30-40% even today do not even have gone to school, so which means that it is even to fill the absence of school education, not only the gaps in the school education, but also the absence of school education. While it is so, I think it also needs to expand and reinvent itself in the modern context to talk about also the new discoveries and not just explain the old, and go beyond, give this kind of science communication to talking about science in the making, reveal how scientific method work. Therefore, in a context like India, it is not perhaps right to dismiss popularization of science as, basically outgrowth of a deficit model and say that they don't have a role. Next. While popularization has one role, I think given the fact that we are living in a society which is more and more closely knit with science and technology and policies which are mediated by science and technology, there are issues of environment, there are issues of socio-economic impacts of such projects, gender issues. Therefore, one need to also go beyond popularization. There is a need for critical appreciation of science and technology. Next.